Have you ever wondered what sound is and how it travels? It's a question that may seem simple, but the answer is remarkably complex. Sound is a form of energy that springs to life when particles vibrate in a medium, typically air. Let's break that down a bit. Imagine you're strumming a guitar. The strings vibrate, and this vibration passes through the air around it. This vibration of particles is what we know as sound, but it doesn't stop there. This energy creates a series of compressions and rarefactions in the medium, forming what we call a sound wave. Now, what are these compressions and rarefactions? Think of them as the peaks and valleys in a wave. The compressions are the parts where the particles are close together, and the rarefactions are where they're spread out. Together, they make up the structure of a sound wave. But not all sound waves are the same. They have certain characteristics that set them apart. These include amplitude, frequency, and wavelength. Amplitude is related to the loudness of the sound. The greater the amplitude, the louder the sound. Frequency, on the other hand, is related to the pitch of the sound. High-frequency sounds have a high pitch, like the chirping of a bird. Low-frequency sounds have a low pitch, like the roar of a lion. And wavelength? It's the distance between one peak of a wave and the next. All these elements come together to create the intriguing world of sound. A world that's so much more than what meets the ear. It's a world that's filled with vibrations and waves, peaks and valleys, loudness and pitch. It's a world that's all around us, yet one that we're only just beginning to understand. So, the next time you listen to your favorite song or hear the soothing sounds of nature, remember the intricate dance of particles that's happening right in front of you, bringing those sounds to life. Stay tuned to find out how sound waves navigate their way through different mediums. Now that we know what sound is, how does it move from one place to another? Let's embark on the journey of sound waves together. Sound waves are like travelers moving in a distinct pattern known as longitudinal waves. Imagine a slinky being pushed and pulled. The coils bunch up and spread out, don't they? That's what happens in a sound wave, creating compressions and rarefactions. But here's the catch. Sound waves need a medium to travel. They can't traverse through empty space, so they rely on mediums like air, water, and solids. It's like they need a vehicle to carry them from their source to your ears. Interestingly, the speed of their journey is not always the same. It changes depending on the medium. Picture a sprinter running on different terrains. They run fastest on solid ground, slower through water, and slowest through air. Similarly, sound travels fastest in solids, slower in liquids, and slowest in gases. Next, we'll dive into how sound behaves when it encounters obstacles. What happens when sound waves bounce off surfaces or pass from one medium to another? This question takes us to the fascinating world of sound reflection and refraction. Let's begin with reflection. Much like a ball bouncing off a wall, sound waves rebound when they hit a surface. This is what we call sound reflection. The laws of reflection are simple and straightforward. The angle at which the sound wave hits the surface, or the angle of incidence, equals the angle at which it bounces back, or the angle of reflection. This principle is crucial in understanding how echoes are formed and used in practical applications like sonar systems, which rely heavily on reflected sound waves. Now, imagine sound waves embarking on a journey from one medium to another, say from air into water. As they cross this boundary, they change direction. This bending of sound waves is what we refer to as refraction. The change of speed as sound moves from one medium to another causes this refraction. For instance, sound travels faster in water than in air. So, when sound waves move from air to water, they speed up and their path bends. An everyday example of sound refraction is when you hear someone's call seeming to come from a different direction when you're underwater. Refraction is also why you can hear distant sounds better on a cold night. Sound waves are refracted or bent downwards by the colder, denser air near the ground, allowing them to travel further. It's intriguing, isn't it? How sound waves can seemingly play hide and seek, bouncing off surfaces or bending their path as they journey through different media. This dynamic behavior of sound waves provides us with a wealth of practical applications, from navigation under the sea to the simple pleasure of hearing an echo in a vast canyon. We've seen how sound waves can bend and bounce, but what are echoes and how are they formed? Stay tuned as we delve deeper into the captivating world of sound. Ever heard your voice coming back to you in a large hall or mountains? That's an echo. An echo is a clear, distinct reflection of sound that arrives at the listener with a noticeable delay after the direct sound. On the other hand, reverberation is the persistence of sound in a particular space after the original sound is removed. This is a result of multiple reflections of sound which are fused together and reach the listener's ear so quickly that they can't be individually interpreted. Now, let's delve deeper into the characteristics of sound waves. Sound waves have three primary characteristics: amplitude, frequency, and wavelength. Amplitude, which is related to the loudness of the sound, refers to the maximum extent of a vibration or oscillation. A larger amplitude corresponds to a louder sound. Frequency, on the other hand, is related to the pitch of the sound. It is the number of complete cycles of vibration that occur in a second. A higher frequency corresponds to a higher pitch. That's why a soprano's high notes have a higher frequency than the low notes of a bass singer. Lastly, the wavelength of a sound wave is the distance between one peak of a wave to the next peak. It is inversely proportional to frequency, meaning that longer wavelengths correspond to lower frequencies and shorter wavelengths correspond to higher frequencies. Now, let's talk about the relationship between loudness and intensity. Intensity is the power carried by a wave per unit area in a direction perpendicular to that area. In simpler terms, it is related to the energy carried by the wave. A higher intensity sound wave will be perceived as a louder sound. By understanding these characteristics, we can better understand and appreciate the complex and fascinating world of sound around us. In our next video, we will continue our exploration of sound, diving into different types of waves, sources of sound, and the human ear. Stay curious!